You're going to spend so much of your energy figuring out the like technical part of the episode instead of allowing your first and creative energy to be on the content and how you serve your audience. The making of the podcast is such an energy distraction. It is hard enough to pull a message out of yourself. When you are a podcast host, when you're building a content platform, when you're trying to tell a story to a marketplace, you are both the critic and the talent. And so I would never go it alone.
Tiffany, I want to ask you a question. You had the foresight back in 2020 to launch a podcast, and we had the opportunity to work together, and you saw a bigger opportunity. Why do you think investing in media content, that type of, what's the word I'm looking for, industry was worthwhile? Why is it so important?
All things being equal, people buy from people they like. All things not being equal, people buy from people they like. And I have seen the power of relationships be probably create the most velocity of anything in my career. And so what I understood, I feel like very quickly, was the power of the ability to scale relationships through podcasting. Because when you hear somebody's inflection points, when you have a chance to tell personal stories, when they can hear your lived emotion come through in what you're sharing, it creates a kind of connection that no other medium that I had ever seen before do. And I mean, I'd been in marketing for 20 years, and I got it so quickly.
It's that whole idea of like, if I can't hear you, I can't see you.
Yeah.
And so I think it helps close that gap. My other question is when brands are just starting out and they're unknown, why does it make sense to invest in creating this type of content?
Well, it's the same thing, is that people don't fall in love with brands. They fall in love with what brands stand for. And in all of my years of working on brand strategies, brands always come from the heart of a founder somewhere. And that story lives on, and it starts to become, others can start to hang on to it, to tell it, to participate, to facilitate it. Marketers can market it. But this core of what it's about has to be honest and true. And that always starts with the idea from a human being. And then it becomes encapsulated in a brand and a logo and marks and colors and all the things that we participate in as consumers. But we're really wanting to know what that brand says about us, about who we are, and what we're trying to communicate to the world about what we believe and what we stand for. So if you want to build a brand, you first have to get your audience to fall in love with the story.
I want to go back to our story for just a second. So you've been working with Share Your Genius for how long?
2020.
And what has your experience been like?
Amazing. I feel like we have grown together. Is that fair? Like, me as a creator, you really started first as a producer with me. Mm-hmm. And I think you've always had a heart and an ear and an eye for story. And you pulled that out of me. I mean, like, the first whatever many times we recorded, I would bawl. And it was like, I had story to tell and you knew how to find it. And I think as you've grown, Share Your Genius, and I've grown as a creator, we've like grown together in that way. So, I mean, you guys are leading and building the services and help me understand the content landscape. And I think that I have learned how to produce and to create alongside you guys, but you've helped me get it all done.
If someone was debating whether or not to go it alone or to work with a company, an agency, even like a producer, what would you advise?
Oh my gosh. You're going to spend so much of your energy figuring out the like technical part of the episode instead of allowing your first and creative energy to be on the content and how you serve your audience. And to me, the making of the podcast is such a distraction, an energy distraction. It is hard enough to pull a message out of yourself. And when you are a podcast host, when you're building a content platform, when you're trying to tell a story to a marketplace, you are both the critic and the talent. And so it's this, I always say it's almost like this exorcism of how do you get out of your soul what it is that you want to say. And podcasting, I think you told me this, it's like not like a book. There's not a published date. There is a published date to an episode, but it's kind of a kind of a platform where you get a chance to refine and to test your thinking and to continue to get more articulate in what it is that you see and what you want to say. And so I would never go it alone.
What about in the age of AI, when AI can do so much? Would that change your opinion?
I am the queen of outsourcing. So for me, I'm like, I don't even want to honestly figure out those tools. Like I'm looking for other people to know how to do that and help bring those economies of scale into my world. Like I don't want to read those blog posts. I don't want to read, I don't, there's not blog posts anymore. I don't want to figure that out.
You don't want to listen to that podcast?
No, I don't want to listen to that podcast. I think the other thing that Share Your Genius and you have been an amazing partner with is helping you find your point of view in a world where content continues to grow and there is still a ton of room for new voices and new content, new episodes. But getting sharp and clear and crystal in that, I think takes a sophisticated sounding board. And yeah, you can, train Chat GPT or a Claude to help you do that. But to me, there's nuance in that. And the humanity of story comes forward with human interaction.
What is one thing in how many episodes are you in?
Like 320 or something.
Just casually, I'm in 320. Why have you not given up?
I mean, I've wanted to. I think that I know in my soul that I see things and know things about how to help women. I was given a career of 20 years of practicing sharing story and bringing message to life, and that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's a sign that I should stop. But it is hard.
For people who are on the fence of like, everyone already has a podcast, why should I start one? You hinted at it, but can you expand a little bit more on why you might encourage them to take the leap?
Well, I think podcasting is one of the most inexpensive places to get clear in your own thoughts and point of view. And so whether anyone ever listens to it or not is sometimes not the point. It gives you a place, a forced place to do the thing that you mean to do. And that is to get clear about your point of view and how you help whoever you help around you. And I would also get really clear about what you want the podcast to do for you. I think people go into any marketing tactic, any messaging with lion-sized goals, and it maybe we'll just do one thing. So getting really clear about what role is it going to play can also, I think, dial down the frustration.
And you and I've talked a lot about this before, but at it, there's typically one of three things that a show or a podcast can do for you. What do you think those three things are in your experience?
One is to create demand, like literally think about your podcast guests as leads. My agency has been wildly successful in that.
Who does your agency work with?
What a plug. Share Your Genius. Jingle, jingle. The second one is brand building. And then the third is building a community or just like followers, like literally people who are your tribe. And so those are the three kind of cornerstones of what podcasting can do.
Last question, I think, is when you look at the future landscape and the opportunity and why you're continuing to invest in this, but also invest in it for yourself, what gets you excited?
Well, I think that we're in a world where authenticity is winning again. And I think that while we are in this sort of, age of AI and all this kind of stuff, people know when people are being real and authentic and vulnerable. And I think as we get into this era of everything looking perfect, we're actually drawn to the imperfection of real, raw, vulnerable human life playing out. And so I'm excited about where we are because I think we're moving through the plastic part of content creation. And I think the soul of people who really are in it for the right reasons is coming forward.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you first started this journey of creating content, creating a podcast, et cetera, what was the goal? And then what do you know to be true now? And what is your goal now?
When I started the podcast, there was so much life going on, and we don't need to get into the gory details of what, but it was coming out of COVID. We had a baby, all the kind of stuff. And I knew I was not going to write a book, but I was experiencing so much life. I wanted to pay attention in a way that was very acute. And the forcing function of pushing record every single week makes you inventory what is going on in life. What am I living and learning? And how do I make sense of it by saying it? And I also have found as a leader, my easiest way of communicating with my team is by talking, not writing a letter, not shooting a video, just talking to them. And it's the most authentic way for me to communicate. So I think in a way it was how I led myself. I mean, that feels like I'm my own therapist, but like I needed to see and say what was going on. And so it was sort of this therapy, like cobblestone path that I was laying out. And then I think I started to see patterns that started to pop into frameworks in my head that I was like, I have something I have to teach.
Well, I think just from a personal level, when we first started together, it was like, I constantly said this, but it was like you were writing pages in a diary I never wrote.
Yeah.
And the way you articulated just like the experiences that you had and all of that, that's what this channel and this medium is all about, is like creating content in a way that ultimately it changes people's lives because you're the brave one. And thank you for being brave. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your story.
It's been special to be part of the journey with you, Rachel. Proud of what you guys are building.